Welcome into the Hudson Sports Zone. Today, Saturday, September 18th. I'm Jerry Hudson, coming at you from sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. On today's show, I'll be wrapping up the Thursday night game between the Washington football team and the New York Giants. Provide all my picks for week 2 against the spread. That includes my top 5 picks for the week and my most confident pick. As always, my picks are for educational and informational purposes only. Now let's get started. I'm asking you out there, Hudson Sports Zone, could Thursday night's game between the football team and the Giants had any more twists and turns in the fourth quarter? Whew, man, it was exhausting. Being a Washington football team fan, I was on the edge of my seat, thought we lost it more than once. Can't believe the Giants didn't complete that pass wide open for a 34-yard touchdown. The game is a game of inches. Quarterback could have put a little bit more loft under it. I think the wide receiver could have reached out a little bit more, regardless. So to recap, Washington needs to run the ball more. I think Washington has found a quarterback for the future in Taylor Heineke out of Old Dominion University. Thanks for putting Old Dominion on the map, Taylor. A couple things that stood out to me. Adam Humphries and Jamie McKissick, both from Washington, seem to trip on themselves. I know the grass at FedEx Field, I don't even know what they call it now, it used to be FedEx Field, is a little choppy from time to time, but considering this is only the second game of the year, I was a little surprised that 2 Washington football team players tripped themselves up on what could have been really long plays. The turf monster got them. Washington's defense, as a very famous sportscaster said this week, and I know he tweeted, they deserve to be on the back of a milk carton because they are not around. They are not to be seen. I don't know what's going on with the front four, but offense coordinators must have looked at the tape from last year and really devised some good blocking schemes to stop the Fab Four for Washington's front four. Why wasn't Washington running the ball when Taylor Heineke threw the pick late in the fourth? I don't know. Gibson was on the field. Washington ran the ball pretty well. Not sure why they were passing there. Giants did a great job with their defense. McLaurin having to move out and not go and stop, kind of floating the route. The G-men definitely should have taken advantage, closed out the game. Didn't happen. So, needless to say, like I started out, could there have been more twists and turns? Washington's trying to close out the game with 2 minutes and 12 seconds to go. Then the pick. Then the Giants don't put them away. Then, of course, we'll get to the play that a lot of people out there are talking about, the offsides play. Man, and before I get to that, I do think the G-men were the better team overall consistently through the night. But come on, when you have 11 penalties, you drop a clear touchdown pass with nobody within 15 yards of you, that's just too much to overcome in the end. Back to the offsides call. I know there's some people out there that have been asking for a down-the-line camera shot to prove that he was offsides. Come on, people. He's lining up right on the ball. You watch the ball. You don't move until the ball is snapped. And he's lined up right over the center and the guard. He can't knock the center back anyways because they took that rule out. They put that rule in a couple years ago. I understand getting offsides if you're coming in from the corner, but not if you're lined up over the ball. Now to Joe and Troy. I am getting tired of listening to Joe and Troy. What used to be a dynamic duo now is getting very tired. I don't understand why they didn't talk more about what I thought was clear pass interference against the G-men, against the Washington football team in the first half. They just seemed to gloss over it. I thought it was egregious. And they need to watch the game with a more detailed eye. They talk when they're wrong. They describe things when it's not accurate. And if we can tell, they should be able to tell. For instance, there was a time that they said, and there was a blitz that added pressure. Well, it was still a 4-man rush. You just had a linebacker rush and you dropped the defensive tackle. It's not a blitz. If you rush 4 and you have a 4-down lineman set, then there's not extra pressure. The other thing that drove me crazy is in the fourth quarter, when the Giants were on defense, they said, and the free safety came down in the box and made the stop. No, that was a strong safety. The free safety was 15 yards back, playing in his normal position. Anyways, Joe and Troy, just need them to tighten it back up because it's getting a little tired for me. And I think some other people. They're still better than a lot of the people out there broadcasting in the NFL, but they're not what they once were. Okay, that's enough of the Giants and the Washington football team. Let's go ahead to my picks this week. I did have the G-Men on Thursday night getting the 3.5 points. I did pick the G-Men getting the points because I thought it'd be a close one, it being an NFC East rival game. And I also picked the G-Men to beat the Washington football team, or at least to cover, because quite frankly, Washington hadn't beat them in 4 or 5 straight. And Daniel Jones, even though he's not a great quarterback, had never lost to that Washington football team. As it turned out, Washington got that opportunity to kick the field goal for a second time due to the offsides, and they ended up squeaking out a 1-point win. Makes me happy that Washington won, because I like Washington, even though they're not a great team. And, of course, it helps in my picks because the G-Men covered. So let's slide into Sunday. The Las Vegas Raiders travel to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is favored by 6.5. I think this is a clear cover by Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh will win this game by double digits. The Las Vegas Raiders have many injuries, including lost 2 starters from the offensive line in the Monday night game against the Ravens. If Pittsburgh plays like they did in the second half against the Bills, this one shouldn't be close. Take Pittsburgh minus 6.5. The Denver Broncos traveling into Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jaguars are catching 6. I think you have to take Denver in this one. I don't think Urban Meyer can right the ship in 1 week. Steady Teddy looked really good for Denver last week, and quite frankly, I think the defense of the Denver Broncos will confuse and frustrate Trevor Lawrence. Take Denver minus 6. Then we go to an AFC East matchup. Buffalo, who lost last week badly to Pittsburgh, is traveling down to Miami. Buffalo's favored by 3.5, and I think Buffalo will cover that 3.5. Miami's good. Can Miami start out 2-0? Could Flores rally the troops? And quite frankly, can Miami stop Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills like Pittsburgh did? I don't think so. I take Buffalo minus the 3.5. Houston versus Cleveland. The Houston Texans are traveling to Cleveland to play the Browns. The line is minus 12.5. I think you have to take Houston in this one. Even though I thought they'd be a dumpster fire to start out the year, I did not think they'd beat Jacksonville last week. It's not within my brain and heart and any part of my body to pick Cleveland, knowing they've got to win by 13 points. For the last 25 years, I don't know that Cleveland has ever been favored by this many, and if they have, they certainly didn't cover it. Take Houston in this one, plus the 12.5. Cincinnati Bengals versus the Chicago Bears. The Bears are favored by 2.5. I picked Cincinnati last week against the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm jumping on the Bengals bandwagon again. I'm calling it the Joe Squared team, with Joe Burrow healthy and confident, and Joe Mixon healthy, confident, and running the ball. These two will beat Chicago in Chicago, and Matt Nagy's butt is going to be squarely on that hot seat. If they don't put Justin Fields in soon, it's going to be too little too late, because the defenses get much harder in weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 than they are the first 4 or 5 games. Take Cincinnati plus the 2.5. The San Francisco 49ers and Philadelphia Eagles. San Francisco is favored by 3, and I think San Francisco will cover the 3. I think they beat Philly by 7 points or more. For those of you that are worried about San Francisco having to travel east 2 weeks in a row for a Sunday game, don't worry about it. Because San Francisco didn't go back to the West Coast after last week. They stayed in West Virginia and have been preparing for Philly on East Coast time. Take San Fran, lay the points. The New Orleans Saints, that haven't been in New Orleans in weeks, versus the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's catching 3.5 here. I think you got to go Carolina. I think Carolina will win this outright. I think the Panthers are the overall better team, especially at home, considering that New Orleans hasn't slept on their own beds in 3 weeks. They'll be going back home after this game, I believe. I think Carolina wins outright, like I said, but definitely catching the 3.5, take them. And quite frankly, Hudson Sports Zone, Can Jameis Winston be near perfect again? Or will Matt Rule's defense show up, put a little pressure on Jameis, and we see a little bit of the old Jameis? Only time will tell. The Los Angeles Rams versus those Indianapolis Colts that played like dog crap in the first week. Indianapolis is catching 3.5, which means the Rams are favored by 3.5. On the road, I love the Rams. Love the Rams in this game. I think Stafford will again show how comfortable he is in McVay's system. Take the Rams here, especially because if you look at the quarterback matchup, who would you rather have leading your team? Matt Stafford, battled veteran, or Carson Wentz, who I think is more all about Carson Wentz and look at me, as opposed to being a great teammate and being a great NFL quarterback. Leads us to the New England Patriots and those New York Jets. New England is favored by 6, and I think you take New England. Actually, I know you take New England. I'm taking New England. The Jets and Zach at quarterback, come on, 1 week's not going to make that much difference. New England really played well enough to beat Miami last week. A fumble late in the fourth quarter kept it from going in for the win, going in for the go-ahead score, which would have led to a win. And the Jets are not nearly as good as Miami. Even though the Jets are at home, take New England, give away the 6. Minnesota versus Arizona. Minnesota Vikings, led by Mr. Kirk Cousins, will once again be mediocre. They've got to go into Arizona and play the Kyler Murrays and Cliff Kingsburys with D-Hop and the boys, and of course, Mr. Jones, who raised tear last week with the 5 sacks. I love Arizona in this, giving away 3.5. That's right, Arizona minus 3.5 against Minnesota. Arizona's at home. It's my favorite pick. Take Arizona and lay the points. The Atlanta Falcons versus those Tampa Bay, Tom Brady and Gronk-led Buccaneers. 12.5's a big spread, folks, especially for a division game. Tampa Bay minus 12.5. I've got to take Atlanta here. I know they looked horrible last week. I think this will be a backdoor cover. Can Tampa Bay beat them by more than 12.5? Absolutely. Tom Brady's 44. If you're leading by 20 and you're going into the fourth quarter, or they pull them halfway through the fourth quarter, which is rare, I know, but he is 44. Can Matty Ice provide a backdoor cover? That would be my call. I like Atlanta getting the 12.5. Those Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, and I say it because this is going to be a home game for Dallas, even though they're playing in the LA Charger Stadium, or should I say the LA Rams at Charger Stadium, old SoFi. Dallas expect to have 80% of the fans in the stands. I still like the Chargers of this, minus 3.5. Dallas is beat up. I think it's really a big deal not having Lawrence out for the next handful of weeks. He provides a hell of a pass rush and makes it tough for offensive linemen to double team him. I like Justin Herbert here, and I think the Chargers, they just have too much talent. I'll take the Chargers laying the 3.5 at home, even though it'll feel more like a Dallas home game. The Tennessee Titans travel to Seattle. Seattle's favored by 6.5, and I love Seattle in this matchup. 6.5, I think Seattle beats them by at least 7, maybe 10, maybe 14. Tennessee will play better after last week. I think there's a lot of people think Tennessee will bounce back. Some people might be picking them to beat Seattle, but you don't beat Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll in Seattle when Seattle's healthy early in the year. Just doesn't happen. All right, let's slide to Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football pits 2 perennial playoff teams of the last couple of years and 2 great quarterbacks. Kansas City travels to Baltimore, who is still extremely beat up and coming off that stinging loss to the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday night. Kansas City's favored by 3.5. I think Kansas City covers that 3.5 easily. Let's get right down to brass tacks here, Hudson Sports Zone fans. Lamar Jackson just can't beat Patrick Mahomes. He hasn't done it yet, and he's not going to do it Sunday night. Take Kansas City minus the 3.5. And then Monday night, the Detroit Lions get to travel to Green Bay, Wisconsin to play the Packers. led by the moody Aaron Rodgers. Packers are favored by 11. I like Green Bay here. I don't think Detroit is that good of a team. I think the Packers have a lot to prove. And even though I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, I just can't expect him to lay 2 eggs 2 weeks in a row and be the worst quarterback in football 2 weeks in a row. So I think he puts out the dumpster fire that is the fight between him and the front office, at least for a week, and Green Bay will cover the 11. I know it's a big spread. It's Monday Night Football. It's, for Aaron, it's, look at me. It's a standalone game. Let me play well, and then people won't think we're a dumpster fire. Take Green Bay. All right, Hudson Sports Zone. Out of all those picks, here's my top 5. I really like Pittsburgh, minus 6.5 over the Las Vegas Raiders, who have to travel east and are beat up. I also like Denver, minus 6 against the Jaguars. San Francisco, minus 3 against the Eagles. The Los Angeles Rams, minus 3.5 over Indianapolis. And Arizona, minus 3.5 against the Vikings. And my favorite, most confident pick of the week is those Arizona Cardinals beating the Minnesota Vikings by a minimum of 4 points, which I don't think it'll be close at all. I think this will be over by halftime, and then Cousins will do what Cousins does, and he'll make it worse by force of the ball, trying to make a comeback, and Arizona wins going away. That's it for the Hudson Sports Zone for today, Saturday, September 18th. I'll be coming at you with my Week 2 recap on Tuesday. Look forward to talking to you guys then. Have a wonderful weekend. And, of course, everybody, be safe for educational and informational purposes only. If anything that I provide you end up using and things turn out really well, I'd love to hear about it. Go ahead and tweet me. And, of course, always visit us and subscribe to my Hudson Sports Zone channel on YouTube. Take care, everybody. Deuces.